You're listening to the Crew Book Club podcast, the show that challenges you to change your mindset through hearing about dope books. Thanks for hanging with the crew to get advice, ask questions, and gain knowledge with me, your host, Sade Hill. What up, crew? What up, crew? What's good? Girl, I am here, and I am excited to talk to you about Woman Evolve, to talk about our book, the 15 invaluable laws of growth. But we just gonna get into it. Welcome to the podcast where I read the books you should read but don't have the time to. And the first segment of our show is Who Gon Check Me Boo? God he is always checking us, and we need a good check to keep us in check. You feel me? And this check was totally all from Woman Evolve in Dallas. Ooh, baby. God was checking us left and right. He was in the building giving us a word. I mean, every speaker was, I don't know whether Sarah gave them an idea of what to talk about, but it all aligned. It was just such a beautiful experience. The first night she talked to Pastor Sarah preached about form, getting into form and God shaping you. And then day 2 for me, Miss Dr. Anita Phillips. I'm excited about her reading her book with you guys, The Garden Within. That was super dope. Meeting her and taking a picture with her. That was super cool. And one of my favorite points from her message that she discussed was, the problem isn't the curse, it's the memory. It defines how we understand things. And it was talking about there's generational curses. And she made the point like God died for that. Like the blood covered it and the blood broke it. And it was just like, wow, because a lot of times when we think of generational curses, it's just like, oh, this been brought down for and we tend to live and sit in that and then place blame on that generational curse. And I was just like, it's not the curse because God died for that. It's the memory that defines how we understand things. And when she said that, I was just like, I'm done. Like, she done did it. I don't know how many times I said that, but during that whole conference, I was just like, this is it. And then it was just like, she gave us steps on how to like redefine that. And she was like, examine whether we're receiving correct information. And one of the scripture was Matthew chapter 13. And it was like, believe it, think it, see it, do it. She preached from Proverbs chapter 15, verse 13. Like repair any definition of God that doesn't align with God's word. And I was just like, yes, sis, give it to us. And she talked about our mental trauma, and she talked about the biological connection. And I like how she had like pictures of how a plant seed in a plant growth is semblance to some of like the cells in our body. She preached on like the vows of our heart and how there's scripture connected to that. I was just completely in awe. It was such a beautiful experience to see how so intricate God was. And she was able to bring like science and God into one conversation, because a lot of times people tend to separate those things. And so that was really dope. I was so excited. Another person I was excited to experience was Brene Brown. Sis kept it authentic, okay? And I call sis, Brene Brown is a sis, okay? She was so real. She kept to her true self. And if a lot of you guys don't know, Brene Brown just don't speak anywhere, baby. Okay? So to see her in the building was absolutely amazing. She made a lot of references to the book Gifts of Imperfection. And I was super surprised. I felt like people in the room really didn't know who she was. So I think doing this conference will open up a whole nother demographic for her. We actually did the Gifts of Imperfection on the podcast last year, and it was a really amazing book. So I was so excited to see her in person. She said ass and damn a few times in her speaking. And Sarah was like, sis. But the whole audience was like, it's okay, we got you. And it was just nice because we could be believers, but we're not perfect. And it just showed like her gifts of imperfection. Like we're not always buttoned up. The cuss word might slip 1 or 2 times. We're all growing, right? And so it was just an amazing experience to see her in person. Another pastor that I didn't even know had or never heard preach before, Pastor Brady, I think it was Shirley Brady, if I'm not mistaken. Let me tell you. And she preached, my story is my stones, and how whatever you go through, you carry those stones to learn from that story. And there was a lady there that gave a testimony how she had went through all these things and she didn't know, she had 4 stones in her pocket. And that was really, really dope. And one of the statements she made, faithfulness comes from your presence, not your title. And I was just like, come on. And then how success evolves out of your struggle, and you should not be walking away from from stuff that you struggle with. You should have learned something from that and use that to catapult you into the next level. And that's like carrying your stones. And she preached from Joshua chapter 4 verses 3-7. And another statement, she was like, I can't afford to not do that thing without purpose. So whatever that thing is that you've been needing to do, you can't do it without purpose. Okay? And then and she was like, don't dare go through it and don't bring nothing through it. Like whatever you're going through, you can't walk out that thing and not bring something with you to make you better. And so she tore the house down. Everybody tore the house down. One of my favorite panels was the men's panel. It was really dope to hear the perspective of men and women, and they had some really dope tips. Like I'm telling y'all, I already brought my ticket for next year. You need to be in the building, okay? Like I cannot tell you no other way. It was just an amazing experience, and I met some of the most beautiful women that I would have never have met if I did not go. Shout out to Deanna, shout out to Dominique, meeting these women and connecting with these women. Deanna, girl, she came through because I had an issue with my rental. They said I couldn't get it till Friday. But she was doing everything that I was doing, and she was so gracious to allow me to ride with her every day of the conference, and I didn't even have to get a rental. I think I Ubered 1 or 2 times to meet with another friend of mine for dinner, and that was super dope and super funny because we've been trying to get together forever. And so to have dinner with my other friend there in Dallas, that was super dope. So it was just an amazing experience, and I can't even think of a word big enough to explain what I experienced while I was there. So shout out to Pastor Sarah J. Roberts. Thank you so much for being obedient and doing what you did, girl. She made 40,000 women feel like we were in a room of 10. And only God can do that. I had left a comment. I was saying it kind of reminded me of the 5 loaves and 2 fish that fed all those people. So to be in that space, it was so intimate. And I felt like every part of the conference fed everybody in some form or fashion. And to see women step up for each other, and the majority of the audience was Black women. And to see how we showed up for each other when we were crying, when people needed rooms, when people needed food, and how we showed up, it was just so, so beautiful. The last day of the conference, I was sitting on an aisle, and we had to look at the sister next to us. And she wasn't Black, but she wasn't white. She was mixed with something, I can tell by her accent. And we had to stare in each other's eyes. And I would never forget staring into her eyes and having to see her. You know what I'm saying? And I saw her. And we just connected, and she ended up having to leave before the end of the message. But it was just a beautiful, amazing experience, and I cannot wait to go back. Okay, so that was the Who Gon Check Me Boo segment. I just wanted that to be the conversation in this segment of the show. And I hope you jotted down all those scriptures so you can go reading yourself. Here's a picture of the journal. If you go to the YouTube channel, you can kind of see the journal that was given to us. And then I did get Pastor Sarah J. Roberts' book, All Hope is Found. And shout out to Monique Darden. Let me tell you, sis came through. We met at the book signing, and we were looking for somewhere to get food. And she ended up, not to save us some money on Uber, sis took us to the restaurant and dropped us off. And in the meantime, she's an author. So here's her book, From Woman to Weapon. I will definitely be reading this, Monique. Shout out to you, sis. I'm excited. First of all, this cover is fire. It's her holding a sword. Baby girl is like, I'm ready to take on anything. You better bring it because I'm a slay it, okay? So I really love the cover. Can't wait to get into that and to read it. So shout out to her. And thank you for everyone who's been listening to the pod, continuously sharing the pod, following me on social media. You guys have no idea. I just discovered, y'all don't judge. I just discovered how to look at the comments on YouTube, and a young lady left a comment. Shout out to you, sis. She was just like, I look forward to waking up, catching up on your episodes. Thank you so much for doing this. So shout out to you. And that's what I have to remember. I want you to remember this. If it's only 2 or 3 people listening to whatever you putting out, and you're being obedient to God, if you just change one person's life and you pour into that one person and they change based off something that your testimony, continue to share your testimony, sis. Continue. God see you, and that's who you're doing it for. And I just felt, because sometimes this can be discouraging. It could be challenging. It could be, I don't want to do this sometimes. And you just continue to push through. You never know who you touching. So don't give up. If God say do it, do it. You hear me, sis? Okay. So let's get into chapter 9 and 10. Chapter 9 of, goodness, y'all, I am not on beat. Chapter 9 by John C. Maxwell, the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, is the law of ladder. And then chapter 10, the law of the rubber band. Rubber band man. Wow, that's a Taliban. 9 in my right, 45. Let me stop. Okay. All right. I was a huge T.I. fan. You feel me? Huge T.I. fan. Okay. So chapter 9, the law of ladder. Character growth determines the height of your personal growth. Quote by Doug Firebaugh. Oh, Jesus, I can't say his name. Achievement to most people is something you do. To the higher achiever, it is something you are. Okay. So let's go to page, I want to go to page 114. I have it highlighted. It says, it comes as little surprise that people want to follow leaders of good character. No one likes to work with unreliable people. But before you or I work with any other person or follow the other leader, who do we have to rely on every day? Ourselves. That's why character is so important. If you cannot trust yourself, you won't ever be able to grow. Good character with honesty and integrity is its core. It is essential to success in any area of your life. Without it, a person is building on shifting sand. Sis, what are you building on? I always will say, you got to keep it real with yourself before you can keep it real with anyone else. Okay, and that's basically what it's saying. Before you or I work with any other person or follow any other leader, who do we have to rely on every day? Ourselves. It starts with you, okay? And I have to this is a constant work to remind myself it starts with me. It starts with me. It will not change until it starts with me, okay? So it goes into page 45 where it talks about rungs of my character ladder. And it says, climbing the ladder of character is something that I have always had to do intentionally. Okay? It doesn't just happen. That's the same for me, John. It don't just happen. I don't know about you, sis, but I have to wake up every day with the intention. Because if I don't, it's real, baby, to lay in my bed and just to watch TV and hope things happen. That I could do that. But let me tell you, that don't work. And they just come. God do not reward laziness. Okay, He can give you the dream, He can give you the idea, but you gotta put in some work, and then He gonna guide you to the next step. Okay, so John, the author, says, Here are the ones on my character ladder that have empowered me to climb higher. Okay, number 1. It says, I will focus on being better on the inside than on the outside. Character matters. All right. What can get us in trouble is worrying about how we look on the outside than about how we really are on the inside. The good news is that if you focus on being better on the inside than on the outside, over time, you will also become better on the outside. Okay? The inside influences the outside. You ever was really impressed with somebody from the outside, but then when you actually talk to them and get to know them, you realize their insides is crap, and then they start looking real ugly? I've experienced that. Like, even, I mean, it could... I'll give an example of, there was this guy in college. He was in my class, and he would come in, he would be dappered up. I went to Florida A&M Rattlers. We strike again. But on campus, sometimes you'll have students who look apart. He was wearing a suit to class. He looked real good, child. And I was just like, oh, he seemed like he'll be a nice guy. I was working in a group with him. Baby, turned completely off. By the way he would speak about him, like about women in his life, or the perception he would have about certain things. And I was just like, oh, please keep your mouth shut. You look way better with your mouth shut. But I'm pretty sure if he worked on himself on the inside, his outside would match. I was like, baby, just turn yourself inside out. I'd rather you be non-attractive but have a beautiful soul. Or, you know what I'm saying? But it'd just be nice to have both, wouldn't it? Okay. And I feel like, what about the flip side? Have you ever met someone that you might was like, ooh, outside may not be as appealing, but when you got to know them, it was just like, oh man, like, they're real cool. Okay. So another note he put under the first one, focus on better on the inside than on the outside. It says inside victories precede outside ones. Okay. If you do the things you need to do when you need to do them, then someday you can do the things you want to do when you want to do them. In other words, before you do, you must be, baby. I have this all the time. People don't realize how much work goes into certain things, and then you pop up and they're like, oh my God, where did you come from? You're successful out of nowhere. That's a plumb lie. Check the track record. Check the nights that the money didn't come in. Check the nights that I was praying on my knees and crying for God to make a way. Check. You ain't gonna see all of that. You're gonna see the flip side, but you're not gonna see all the dark moments that came with getting to where you're at, and then having to stay where you're at. There's times that are tough, and you might see the glory, but you do not see everything part of the story. All right. So be careful what you ask for. Like, people be like, I want the heart of Job or whatnot, because Job got all his stuff back tenfold. But you see what Job had to go through. Okay, so be very careful what you looking at someone and what they have on the outside, because you don't know what they had to go through to get to where they are on the inside. Another note he said on page 146 is, our inside development is totally within our control. It says, when we fail to make the right character choices within us, We give away ownership of ourselves. We belong to others to whatever gains control over us. Goodness. How can you ever reach your potential and become the person you can be if others are making your choices for you? Jesus. Man, you ever been in a period of your life where everybody's decision was predicated on how you move? They got too much control. Too much control. You have to take accountability for real. Okay? Or where you're at, because you got full control. Every decision we make leads to some type of reward or consequence. And I had to take responsibility of that. And you do too. You do too. And you have the red pill, blue pill. Which pill you gonna take? Okay? Which direction are you gonna choose to go down? All right? Because that's gonna be part of building your character, Number 2, another character ladder to improve your character. He says, I will follow the golden rule. People matter. Basically, treat others how you want to be treated. Okay? That's the golden rule. That's plain and simple right there. We don't even have to go into it too much. All right? Okay? Number 3, I will teach only what I believe. Passion matters. It says, do you know what they call the speaker who teaches what he doesn't believe? A hypocrite. Think about going to a pastor. He out here preaching certain things, but he don't even follow that word. It will be a lot harder to follow that preacher, would it not? Imagine, even with my daily business, like being a realtor or speaking to people about mindset. I have not mastered finances. I'm still working on my own finances. So I can only share with you to the point that I got, but I'm not going to build a class on finances yet until I get to the point where I feel like I've gone through it and I've had some success in it to teach you something of value. You know what I'm saying? I could be on here and share my story, but I'm not going to book classes about that. Now, will I book a class about mindset and pulling yourself out of a rut? Would I teach a class about podcasts in a certain perspective, on being consistent, because I ain't never missed an episode, and I think we like 94 episodes in? Yes, I would feel confident speaking on that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not finna go up here and speak about I sure enough teach a class about real estate, okay? But I'm not gonna put you in a position where I haven't mastered certain things, because then I would be a straight up hypocrite. So teach what you believe in, because passion does matter. Number 4, he says, I will value humility above all virtues. Perspective matters. It says, I think anyone who is honest with themselves realizes that he falls short of where he could and should be in life. He says, unlike what Tom Hanks said in Forrest Gump, life is not a box of chocolate. It's more like a jar of jalapenos. What you do tonight might burn your butt tomorrow. That is so true. J.M. Barrie had a quote. It says, the life of every man is a diary in which he means to write one story and writes another. And in his humblest hour, it is when he compares the volume as it is with what he hoped to make it. Okay? That was really, have some humility. That was really good. And then it broke down in that section some other things, like remembering the big picture, recognize where everyone has a weakness, be teachable. Don't ever feel like there's nothing that you cannot learn, because you could be missing out on an opportunity. This past weekend, I was doing, my mom was helping me do my daughter's hair, and she wanted to watch College Hill, like the new one, I guess, like with Nene Leakes, Ray J and them. And on one of the episodes, Ray J felt like he couldn't learn from this professor because he was a successful business person. But it's like you could totally miss an opportunity because you think you know it all. And I felt like he missed the opportunity to be open-minded, because maybe he could have received something that he didn't expect. But we can't be out here thinking that we know it all and not coming with an open heart to receive something new. You just never know. And also, even if someone may not have taught you something more than what it is, you could still grab that to be able to communicate to someone that may not be on the same level, so you can have a better understanding. Because sometimes we can be speaking to someone at a certain level and it can be going one ear and out the other because it's not relatable to them. Okay, so you can always be teachable. Be willing to serve others. Pastor T.D. Jakes, I just watched a sermon about servitude. And he was saying, like, a lot of people want to be leaders, but a lot of people don't know how to serve. But he was like, to get to a level, it comes with serving. Okay? Be grateful. Be grateful for every situation and where you're at. Okay? And I liked going to number 5. It says, I will strive to finish well. Faithfulness matters, okay? The final rug on character ladder is the determination to keep building character and living at the highest standard until the day I die. Y'all, do the right thing. You, do the right thing. Okay? It never hurts to do the right thing, all right? I sleep well doing the right thing. I remember times when I wasn't doing the right thing. It did not feel... I was stressed out and I couldn't sleep. Okay. So it's just best to do the right thing. I always tell people when I'm doing real estate, I don't do the right thing because of me. I do the right thing because I serve God and you're his children and I ain't messing that up. I am not messing up my relationship with Christ for $1. I just am not doing it. Okay. Now, I like how this quote was put. If you take control of your behavior, your emotions will fall into place. Check yourself. Allow God to check you so you can check your emotions and they'll fall in the right place. Okay? I really like that. Because we have control of our behavior. We just have to choose. We just have to choose to control it and stop blaming other people. Oh, that just hit. Like that saying cause and effect. Okay? Cause and effect. You can be the cause, and what you cause can be the effect. It could be an inner circle within you. Okay? So, that was good. Oh, Jesus. We are about 27 minutes in. I want to discuss chapter 10, but I feel like I just don't want to rush through it. But I'll say this. On chapter 10, the law of the rubber band, it goes into the benefits of tension. It's like when you pull in a rubber band, that's the tension you feel, right? And he says most people use only a small fraction of their ability and rarely strive to reach their full potential. Too many people are willing to settle for average in life. That's on page 161. And it's like, are you willing to settle for average? There's benefits to tension. And he was like, a few people want to stretch. We have to be willing to stretch ourselves so we won't just stay average. I remember there was this whole debate, something that Ebony K. Williams said about dating a bus driver and and people was coming at her about it. And then it became to this state of average. And I feel like people get comfortable at being average. And it's not like saying that you're going to be this multi-millionaire. Everyone is going to become a multi-millionaire, billionaire, or whatever. But it's just like, at least strive. Ain't nothing wrong with striving. Because being complacent look crazy too. Okay? Now, that goes into like number 2, settling for the status quo ultimately leads to dissatisfaction. You do realize that. You can't sit here and tell me that you're really okay with just being average. I'm not saying that you are, content. Because you should be content in where you're at, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't continue to strive. It says here, it's true that being in your comfort zone may feel good, but it leads to mediocrity and therefore dissatisfaction. Abram Maslow said, if you plan on being anything less than you are capable of being, you will probably be unhappy all the days of your life. I don't care who you talk to. Okay? I'm pretty sure there's an opportunity that they would want to do better if it presented itself. You see, if it presented itself. What I'm challenging you to do is find the opportunity and present it to yourself to continue to strive for better. It's not always just going to come to you. You're going to have to put in the work. Now, there's a difference of putting in the work and somebody recognizing it and you choosing not to take the opportunity. That's different. Maybe God didn't put in your experience to take that opportunity yet. But it's a difference when you're striving for something and knowing that you, and then denying that you don't want to be there. Come on now. That's lying to yourself. Don't lie to yourself so you can dim your light to say, well, no, I was just comfortable here. Or that ain't what God got for me. It's like, okay, that might not be it, but let's circle back and see if we can go another direction. Okay? So I like that. Number 3, stretching always starts from the inside. It says, instead of wishing, wanting, and waiting, people need to stretch inside themselves for a reason to start. It's wise to remember that our situation in life is mainly due to the choices we make and the actions we do or fail to take. What actions are you failing to take, sis? You know exactly what you should be doing, but you're not doing them. So how does that make you feel? Imagine not doing the things and then 1 year later, you still in the same spot. Wishing, waiting, and wanting. It don't feel good. You cannot tell me otherwise. It do not feel good. It do not feel good to have all that inside of you and it not come out. It don't. Stop lying to yourself. For real, for real. Number 4, stretching always requires change. The author and contributor of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, Alan Cohen, says, to grow, you must be willing to let your present and future be totally unlike your past. Your history is not your destiny. Okay? Yeah, we can look back and see where we come from and how it helped us go into the next thing, but we should not be sitting so much in our past where it affects our destiny. Okay? I like that point. Number 5, stretching sets you apart from others. Improving yourself is the best way to help your team. Successful people set themselves apart because they initiate the improvement others need. When you get better, those around you benefit. Excellence has the potential to spread in the same way as mediocrity does. The positive or negatives of a group always begin with one. When you get better, so will others. Are you the one, sis? There's a song, I am the one. It's a really good song by Kurt Carr. I am the one that came back and said thank you. Well, how about you be the one that changed your whole group around? I was at a dinner the other week and another friend of mine, she's been an entrepreneur way longer than me. And she got some really bad advice. And in my mind, I was just like, oh, I wish you would have contacted me because I was going through the same thing, making sure how to maintain my LLCs, making sure I had the right licenses and things of that nature. And that's why it's so important to make sure the people in your circle have that proper information and you're pulling from the right people. And maybe if you feel like you're not getting the right information, it's okay to go outside your circle to find the people that's going to give you the right business. It's like, who are you getting your advice from anyway? Okay. And that is where it's so important to reevaluate who's in your top 5. Are you getting your information from people who are at the same level as you? Sometimes that's okay. But if you're getting stuff from people who not even at your level or are not above, if they're under where you're at and they have no idea, you probably shouldn't be getting that type of advice from them. You should be going outside of the level that you're at to see what you should be doing. Okay? And so, number 6, stretching can become a lifestyle. This is so true. It says, I'm going to keep on stretching until I'm all stretched out. And it doesn't matter whether I see success today or not. Why? Because sadly, many people stop growing after they've tasted success. I don't want to get that complacent. Peter Drucker observed, the greatest enemy of tomorrow's success is today's success. No one has ever made a significant impact after they won the Nobel Prize. I don't want success, no matter how great or small, to derail me. Oh, that's good. Number 7, stretching gives us a shot of significance. The possibility path is God giving us an opportunity to make a difference. As we follow it, we stop asking ourselves what we are. We start asking, what can we become? We may appreciate what we did yesterday, but we don't put it on a pedestal. Significance is birthed within each of us. If we are willing to stretch, the seed can grow until it begins to bear fruit in our lives. That is so good. So keep stretching, sis. Okay? Keep going. Okay? Because sooner or later, you will bear fruit. All right? Now, I want to get into the challenge of the week. But before I say that, I want to say, if you're struggling with feeling like you're not bearing fruit or feeling like you're mentally all over the place, I highly recommend getting therapy. And there's actually therapists that is helping with accomplishing goals. And that's one of the reasons why I like BetterHelp too. So, because when you're doing your survey to find a therapist for you, you can click what you're struggling with. It talks about like achievements and things like that in business. So you can click those things and actually speak to a therapist that specializes in those perspectives that you're struggling with. So go to betterhelp.com/crewlove. That's betterhelp.com/crewlove. And you can get 10% off your first month of therapy. So I highly recommend that. So you can find exactly a therapist that fits what you are struggling with at the moment. Okay? So check that out. And so let me give you the challenge of the week and then the quote of the week, and I'm going to let you out of here. Okay? So the challenge of the week comes from page 172 from chapter 10. And it's at the end where it's applying the law of the rubber band to your life. And he gives us 3 typically at the end of each chapter. But I want to focus on number 2. It says, be strategic to maintain the tension between where you are and where you could be by continually resetting intermediate range goals for yourself. If goals are too immediate, you lose the tension when you achieve them quickly. If the goal is too lofty, they can seem too difficult to achieve and become discouraging. What is the right time frame for you to maintain the tension? 3 months, 6 months, a year? Set your goals for yourself according to your individual personality and then keep revisiting them at the end of those time increments. You want the goal to be just barely within reach, not too easy, but not impossible either. Being able to figure this out is an art, but it will pay tremendous dividends in your life. For me, I like the 12-week year. I like giving myself 12-week goals so that way I can check at the end of each 12 weeks to see where I'm at. And that has worked for me now. But let me tell y'all, when I first started setting goals for myself, it was little things like making sure I wash the dishes every night, making sure I made my bed when I got out every day, making sure that I mopped on this day. It was setting smaller goals. And then when I started setting those smaller goals, then it turned into, okay, I feel more comfortable doing big goals. So sometimes it just takes starting small. And that's that. I remember when I first got into real estate, I was just like, if I could just sell 3 houses in 1 year. Now it's like, okay, if I can at least sell 15 in 1 year. So sometimes you just have to start off small and then build on those goals that you do. And trust me, it's going to be like, oh, that's it. I can do that. Oh, wow. Now I can do this. Da, 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 da. And it's going to keep going and keep going. So be strategic to maintain the tension. All right. So that's your challenge this week. Now, I'm going to end this episode on a quote, and the quote of the week comes from George Eliot, and it is, "It's never too late to be what you might have been." All right, sis? So don't let age, don't let time, don't let nobody or nothing stop you from believing and achieving it. All right? I will see y'all right here next week on the Crew Book Club podcast. Hey! Want to be a part of the crew? Hit that follow button so you'll never miss an episode. And while you're at it, I would appreciate you showing crew love by rating the show on iTunes and Spotify. Don't keep all this goodness to yourself. Share and tell a friend so your whole crew can be growing with you. Let me be the first to tell you, welcome to the crew.